Is it too bright? Because I've got a bit of reflection.
No, no,
The
you're
sun.
okay. I mean, it
Oh,
might be on you for what you're looking at, but you look great. You look real good. So I said your color is incredible.
it's going to be
Okay.
108 today.
Are we live, Katie?
We
Did
are
you say? Okay.
live. Yep.
Okay. So welcome back, everybody. We've had a 2 week hiatus. We've had a lot of stuff go on in that time. Um, Katie and Gareth are going to talk about the recent events. And Katie and I did a show together a couple of weeks ago. So Gareth and I are going to do a show together later this week. I just want to say on behalf of everybody, thank you for your prayers and the peace, comfort, the grace, everybody that sent their love and support to Gareth. I knew from the very beginning when Katie told me, I knew he was going to be fine. And I
He,
actually,
you gave
w-
a date. You said he'll wake up by January 1st, and didn't he come out of
yeah,
that coma
I know. I
January
don't know why
1st?
I just said it's like, well, because I know we're connected. So I was like, it's going to be 3 days. He's going to have 3 days. I just know it. And then later on, I got a transmission, which was real interesting. But we'll talk about that when we do a show together, because that was really wild. And then I got messages from you that were confirming what I was getting. I was like, oh shit. So, but yeah, you guys, it's been a while since y'all been together. I'm anxious to be in the audience and listen to everything. Welcome back, Gareth. We love you, and thank you, Katie, for holding space with me while this was all going down. And
Thank you.
I'll be in the audience. So y'all take care. Okay.
Thanks so much, Todd. Thank you. And yeah, just before we start, thanks so much for all the love I got. When I came out of that coma, I felt every ounce of it. It just was incredible experience, I've got to say. Because we've been alone in this for a long time now, and it's just gone to a whole other level. So it was great to feel that connection with everybody. And Katie was just pulling it all into the room with me. It was fantastic. So yeah, thanks again from the bottom of my heart, everyone.
We did prayer circles. I did a prayer circle with some of my girlfriends, and I know Todd did a Facebook, request for prayers up for Gareth. And yeah, yeah. We have
Oh,
lots to talk about.
don't we? Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. Apparently, I freaked out the entire ICU team, which you've got to try pretty hard to do. They've seen
I
it all,
can't imagine what you were saying.
I was telling them all about the fall of the Antichrist,
They need to
which,
know. Everybody
yeah,
needs to know.
they'll find out. They'll find
Yeah.
out.
Oh, you're getting a lot of love in the chat right now. Everyone's
Oh,
so
dear.
happy. There's Chase and Anne and Lindsay and Roseanne and Mike. Everyone's just like so happy to see you. Anne says 3 days of darkness. 3 days, like I explained to you that when that happened to you, I mean, and I don't want to steal your thunder. This is the very beginning, but
Oh, go.
it came in as a very quick fear, and even stronger than a fear, a terror. Like, I don't want to be on this planet without him. I don't want to be on this planet without him. And as soon as I thought that, a calm came over me, Gareth, that I can't explain, where every cell in my body knew that whatever happened, I will never be on this planet without you in whatever form, physical or spiritual. And it all of a sudden I was okay, that no matter what happened, I would be okay. And
Oh,
I told you this since you came out of the coma. I told you there was a moment when I said, "Oh my gosh, if we lose him, that's God's will." And hey, you know what? If the fucker's gotta leave me to get his message out there, then so be it. It was like a total surrender on a level I didn't know I had.
fantastic. And look, that's really, really powerful. Doing that, really powerful. Because there's something about meeting death in all of this, which I know that sounds a little dramatic, but I mean that's what started me on the whole more kind of, let's say, conscious connection to my own experiences were in 97 or actually 93 when I ran out of I woke up, as I said in my story, um, in the middle of the night saying out loud, I came awake as I was saying, if this is all there is to life, I could die right now and I wouldn't care. And then I snapped awake. And that's what started the whole direct process that ended up in me meeting Tom, God, and and then everything from that, it all culminated, and I went into hospital. Like it was pretty intense. I mean, poor Anna, my wife and family, I was having grand mal seizures non-stop for 5 hours roughly, and they couldn't stop it. They were putting drugs, meds in, but they had a cluster of controlled epileptics having the same problem. So there was something going on. Yeah, it hit people in different ways, but only a certain group. It was quite something, and they didn't understand what was happening. So they put me in an induced coma just to shut the brain activity down enough. And I went somewhere big. Like when I came out of the coma, I was obviously still not, I don't know how to put it. I was somewhere else. And
Yeah.
Tom, who, in The Only Planet of Choice, God describes, he uses the name Tom, spokesman for the Council of Nine. So T being the shape of the universe, white light, colored light, holographic projection. Om is the core. Let there be light is the way it's put in the Old Testament. I don't like bringing up religion.
Right.
However,
Yeah.
that core frequency is what they call Om in the Vedas. So it's just a model of the universe, and nine is completion. So it's like totality. Um, and when I was speaking with him, this was in 97, I was being held in 5D and I was in the room. So it was like he was moving me around. I had this face in front of me, all the facial expressions, and it was like somewhere else. Time and space were different, but I could move my attention in and out of the room, and I was in the room with two other people. Well, the energy of that feeling, it was the strongest I've felt it since then. He was in the room holding me the whole time, and he started speaking to me and uh, took me through this thing. I came out of it calling it the riddle of the Sphinx, the name of the Sphinx.
Hmm.
That was pointed out in The Only Planet of Choice, and actually a very well known. He was anonymous in the book, but he's actually quite a well known archaeologist. Said, "How did the Sphinx come to be named after you?" And he said, "You have found the secret. The true knowledge of that will be brought at another time. I am Harmakos, I am Tahuti, I am the morning, the evening, and the mid-noon." And that's the whole Atlantean thing. Harmakos being the Greek colony, Teote or Tahuti being the Peru, that South American colony. The morning, the evening, and the mid-noon refers to Egypt.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
he was connecting this process now with what happened then and everything in between. And yeah, like I said in the message, as soon as I had to go, there was something about the man who speaks, who wants to speak every word, but hadn't experienced it. It was like a limerick. And I don't know how I knew it. I really don't know how I knew it, but I knew every word of it. And I went through all the words and I kept going and it kept rolling in front of me. And then I came into the last word, which was the name of the Sphinx. And when I said it, all the lights, and I'm in ICU, so you can imagine how many lights there are. There were machines
Hmm.
everywhere. But as I went through the last maybe 5, 6 words, the lights on the machine started clicking green. Each word click green. And when I got to the last one, they all went on green at the same time. Bang. And I saw this compression wave is the word I had if that's the right term, energy wave go
Energy.
poof out from the Giza Plateau where the Sphinx is, and sort of like a ring, it went up and then passed all the way around the planet. And they said to me, the Arcturians were there too, and they said all of that energy from the Atlantean destruction event, it's all now been reversed, and it's undoing or reversing the inversion. So all the foundation work that's been going on since 97, a lot of us, I mean, I'm sure everyone on the call, we've been going through this process. There's a problem. What is it? No idea. And we've all
Hmm.
been living through this kind of like Groundhog Day spiral of repeating patterns and, getting somewhere and it feels like you get pulled back out of it and getting somewhere. And what's really been going on is we've been having this subconscious rearrangement going on. Well, that had to happen so that the paradigm coming in had something to connect to and ground into. And
It's like what you always say to me about this energy that is spiraling out of me. I'm releasing stuck energy in my body to make room for everything that's coming in.
uh,
So along the lines of the friendships and the family members and everything that I've lost, relationship not lost, but on pause, whatever they are, everything is making room for everything that's coming in now.
that's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And
And
that's,
the compression wave that you were talking about is circulating the planet right now,
yeah,
constantly. Like it's just, yeah,
it's ringing like a bell. Yes,
right,
ringing like a bell. Yeah,
right.
that frequency it's a match for the 5D, what we were, what we are really. And it's there's been the sole purpose of everybody, like on this call, for instance, and all around the world is to be an anchor for that transition back to full 5D. And of course, the only way to do that is to have a willingness not to know, because all the programming that we've been subjected to by those of the interference, as Tom calls them, is about blocking that. So he called the body mind a receiver, and of course, conditioning turns you into a transmitter. You keep telling everything what it is, or what it should be, or what it shouldn't be.
Hmm.
And it's tough when you're driven by self-doubt and fear. And that's a very old program. It's been around for 12,000 years and a lot of trauma behind it. There's a lot of suppressed energy. Subconsciously, it's hard to go there. But too many people want the truth. And so that gap's been opened up.
I was just
Now,
sorry, I'm laughing. I'm like subconsciously it's hard to go there. I'm like subconsciously, consciously it's hard to go there. What are you talking about? Like I know what's going on. I have a knowing since my awakening. I know all the self-doubt programs and the propaganda that we're hammered with for not only 13, 12, 13,000 years, but past lifetimes and then my past 50 years. I know this shit and it's still hard, hard, hard. I talked to you today about self-doubt. Like it just comes in and it just niggles its way into everything. Yeah.
that's it. Yes. And that's the thing. We are reversing the inversion with you, is what this is the way God put it to me. So our direction of, how do I put it? The direction we face is kind of an inversion. So doubting the doubt or doubting the programming that self-doubt comes from has been happening on a big, big scale. And you're not going to get an answer straight away. So that's why it's difficult, but that's also why it works so well. Because in that gap, you can release so much emotional energy. And that's why it's been so hard on us all, I think, because as that energy releases, there's a lot of attachment to definitions of it. And it triggers the conditioning. But because the disillusionment is so profound, there's nothing in your belief system that can really cover that feeling that you need covered, which is the question, what's the real truth? Like, what's going on? Okay, there's a problem. I can't keep going like this. I've got no idea what it is, and I don't know what the solution is. Once you go there, you can't go back. That question, what's the truth, has got you, and it does something. So we've been going around actually in a spiral rather than a loop. And the fact that it feels like a loop but we can't answer the question and delude ourselves we've got the answer means we're actually moving in a spiral. So emotional energy, your emotional body is deepening. Your ability to hold that feeling without freaking out too much or reacting too much or acting on it too much gets better and better and better over time. You can deepen into the moment, and the mind can spiral up. You become more aware. You can put more, let's say, words to this unknown quantity. And you start to see things around you in more clarity. Well, that's about to go up like through the roof.
Yeah. Yep. Exponentially. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
time. Yeah, the
I
Arcturians told me about it years ago. They call it the great coming together and the great falling apart. So the same catalyzing events that cause this paradigm collapse for everybody else, which is going to freak them out. Tom said it's better for you if you choose it. It's happening anyway. We can
yeah.
choose it or you can go against it. Either way, if you go against it, it's going to smash that force. It's going to equal the force of resistance to get you out of the way so that you have to receive it. But for everybody else, for all of us, it is going to start making sense.
Sense. I was just going to say, while you were in the coma and I was talking to so many people, I was kind of explaining to them the great falling apart and the great coming together is that, and it's better for you if you choose it, is that all of us have consciously chosen it. We've decided to believe in the unbelievable. What has been hammered at us to not believe. We have decided to go out on a limb, look crazy to everybody we know, withdraw from the world as we knew it, and believe these things, right? So while the great coming together, while the great falling apart is happening in the external, all of us have been consciously doing this work, and we are here to hold the hands of those that are just going to get blammoed with what we've all known. So it's divinely, I described it as the holy hand. It's divinely timed, the holy hand held, it's all an orchestra and we're all playing our part beautifully, whether we agree with each other, like each other, all of it
Mm.
makes sense. So while it looks crazy and unsettling out there, we're all going to have a sense of relief. I've said it on many calls. Let it burn, let it crumble, let it fall to the ground. And as more come into the awareness, we've been holding for those of the people who don't know there was even work to be done, as the burden of knowing is shouldered by so many more, we're going to have a levity that we haven't had for so long. We're
For a
going
long
to,
time.
for a long time, Gareth. Like
Mm.
you've been waiting your whole life. I've been waiting 6 years, you know? It's very exciting, but it's still really hard. Like Anne and I have had a horrible day today, and it's not a horrible day. Like there we are placing judgment on the feelings, but it feels tense and very uncomfortable, and it like off the charts awful. But at the same time, this is like you explained to me. It's everything moving up and out. It's coming into the light. It's leaving.
Yeah.
But it's not comfortable. Change is
No.
not comfortable. And a couple of things in the chats I just want to say really quickly. My mom said, Gareth, I'm so happy to see you in the
Yeah.
chats. And then my friend Maida, she was a wonderful facilitator in the Heart's Coherence retreat in Maine that I went to this summer with Kyle. And she asked, how do we get rid of this doubt? Like, what do we do? And I don't know if I interrupted anything really important because every time we interrupt each other, we forgot exactly where we were. So everyone forgive me. Like this is the first time I've laid eyes on my person, my guy, my friend.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a little
yes.
excited. Bring on
No,
the
no,
levity, Eliza says. Absolutely. Change is most uncomfortable, Donna says.
absolutely. But it's the only thing you can count on, the constant, what's the term? There's an absolute constant, which is change. Everything changes form, but what changes form never changes, which is consciousness. that light of consciousness, the entire universe is really made of it. So the form itself is always moving. So when you get it, so you can see how this mind control program works. You get really attached through fear and self-doubt to the form and defend it. And that's really all our families and friends and society. They've been reacting pretty hardcore against it. And all of the frequency weapons are about amplifying. Firstly, medications to all sorts of strategies to make it very difficult for people to regulate themselves emotionally, then come in and amplify it with frequency weapons like 5G, etc., to
Mhm.
elevate it. That's what you're seeing playing out, so that they can label it as an excuse to come in with totalitarian laws that we say yes to. And that's the critical bit. Without our permission, it can't happen.
Well, that's what humanity has to see, what we gave our
Exactly.
power over to, what we
Yes.
were complicit in, all the lies.
Mhm.
Like none of it could have been done if we didn't buy it.
That's
And
right.
it's a really hard thing to look at in our personal lives, choices
Mm.
we've made, decisions, like behaviors. It's a really hard thing to look at, but we all have to look at it.
Yeah, like you say, it's not comfortable, and you can understand. And this is one of the things I came out of the coma with: hey, the importance of family, forgiveness, and compassion because of empathy. Like we are not, I know in my own life, even though I've had 5D experiences all my life, I've also had to live in this world and kind of get clear on what that is. And you don't. What was I told years and years ago? Tom told me you do not truly know a thing until you've lived it, and that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Oh
You
my
know, that,
goodness. Now, I couldn't have heard that easily before. I mean, I could hear it and it makes sense, but until you've lived it,
mm,
you don't kind of know what you're talking about.
yeah, the power of that statement and what it looks like and how do you connect with it in day-to-day life? And like you say, the question, how do you get rid of this doubt? Fundamentally, you meet it, like you let it be there.
Right.
One of the four modalities that we were brought through in our own personal life, my twin flame, my partner and I, is something called satsang, which came in through Ramana Maharshi. And the Arcturians called it true north. So God said at this time, we are reversing the inversion with you. So our sense of self, that's where it all comes from. This inverted sense. He said, you insist you have a human nature. So this mind control program called, which is very prominent in Christianity, that, hey, fundamentally people are flawed, but look, we're trying to get better, but what can you do? That's life, that's human nature. That's a myth. So we keep on repeating it and acting from it like it's true. And that has to be brought out. And so when you doubt the mind conclusions about everything, it leaves you with nowhere to go. And that's tough because the imperative is to fill the space with something so you don't have to feel dot, dot, dot.
Alcohol, shopping,
What?
sex, poor behavior, you name it. It's like you're filling the space to not feel the feelings.
Yeah.
So, in answer to Maida's question, it's exactly what all of us are doing. We're meeting the doubt, we're taking the ridicule, the mocking, the
Mm.
abandonment so-called, and staying with it.
Yeah.
There's
Because
nothing, it's truth or die.
yes, exactly right. What's the point?
What's the
When you
point?
think about it, what's the point? Either live a life that works. There's no point. I think all of us recognize that. Like I said, once you hit the wall and it's you bottom out, like, okay, there's a problem. I can't keep going like this. I don't know what it is, but dot, dot, dot. Now there's a gap that you can't fill. It doesn't matter what you use from the old life, what you use from the strategies around there. If any of that works, it would have worked already. And you know that something in your heart switches on and something in your mind sort of separates, and that triggers the ego that controls. It tries to come back in, it'll use any experience you're going through as a platform to come back in. But again, you doubt the doubt so strongly. You doubt the old story so strongly. Yes, you don't have anything to put there in its place yet, but you can't pretend either. And that's very powerful and extremely, it serves everybody around you. You're not going to play the same games anymore. They're going to label it whatever way they need to label it to stay in control because they're too afraid to let go. And we've taken that on, that's been kind of serving us. I know it doesn't, believe me, I know from personal experience, it doesn't feel very nice. But you get to a point where you realize they're not even talking to you. They can't see you.
No, 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 no. You're exactly. That's why the best response is compassion. Compassion, space, patience. I didn't know what I knew until I knew it. And then the more I
Mm.
knew, the less I knew I knew. Like,
Right.
it's yeah, compassion. As you know, I had a texting conversation with a family member that it's been really tense with, and just getting the clarity on where they stand and just seeing, okay, we are essentially not on the same planet at this point.
Mm.
And I love you, and I don't want to be around you also, right?
Yeah,
Like it goes both ways and it's totally fine,
yeah,
right? We are the experience, like David in the chat says, we are the experience. That's it.
totally.
Not to diminish the experience or the importance or the emotions or any of it, but this is an experience. And basically, if someone is that much your nemesis, your
Mm.
struggle, your challenge, your pain, your despair, if someone is that for you, I'm pretty sure you love each other so fiercely as true souls, as the truth of who you are. You love each other so fiercely, you agreed to be that for each other for the experience of learning and growing and expanding. And that basically is the only thing that gives me peace with all of my fractured relationships right now, because
Yeah.
nothing else brings peace with those. Nothing.
No, absolutely. See, right now, you represent the split within them they can't own. So, because it creates, there is a truth to who you are, and energy moves in a particular direction, and that mental inversion totally reverses that, and that creates a lot of tension. So that's think of it like lightning that needs a lightning rod. So the people that trigger us and the situations we define a certain way that trigger us, once you realize how this works, you realize that that's actually serving you to be free of the trigger.
Yes, 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 yes. And like Flicks Love just said, the distance is magnetic balancing. Like everything, my friend Marianne and I were talking this morning, everything is balance. Everything is equal opposite. We're coming back into balance. So the pain you're feeling, the perceived lack you're experiencing in your life financially or relationship wise, like every turmoil and angst you're experiencing is the answer to the question you asked. It's a
How do I be
hard,
free?
for what?
How can I be free of
How can I
this?
be free? Freedom is on the other side of that absolute fucking hell you're feeling. It is
Yeah,
the answer you asked for.
yeah.
And it's a hard thing to see when you're in it.
It is big time, and that's the whole point. You lose all objectivity. But as soon as you got that question, what's the real truth? Because I can't live any other way. There's a whole new element. Tom said someone asked him, well, like exactly that, those situations, whatever that is for you in your personal life, the conflict. He said, how can we deal with that? Like, what are we missing? He said, add a fifth element. Now, what does he mean by that? He told me that all self-aware life is five-sided, five-dimensional.
Mhm.
So that's, obviously height, depth, breadth, the three physical dimensions. Time is the fourth, and then the fifth is spirit, which is consciousness, that which animates form. So by doing that, what that means is adding the question, what's the truth? You allow room for the spirit of the reality of the experience to be something other than you can see right now. As soon as you do that, anything that can't coexist with it will try to fight back. And you get this discernment. That's what's lacking. We get reactionary. We're so young, we're pulled into this action reaction to try to edit life into a form that works for us, for our definition, that we lose that objectivity. So again, that's what happens. It takes time and it takes you where it takes you. But that's what time means. We are bringing you back across the valley you should not have crossed, human race. We are reversing the inversion with you, your sense of self and sense of reality around you. So this transition process that's been playing out is direct help. Like
Mhm.
all the help that we've all been asking for is actually has been happening. We've been held by the hand through all the experiences that we don't want to go there with, to find a new way to relate to them, which takes us through a process where the hook gets
Mhm.
dissolved by the experience. Because when you stop believing it wholeheartedly, like that's all there is to it, your mind definition.
Mhm.
This is the big thing in satsang. You know, Ramana Maharshi said, uh, the truth of who you are is untouched by any of it. And by letting the definition be there with the question, what's the real truth? It begins a bit of a wrestling match for a while. But like I
Mhm.
said, if you've bottomed out, in this old paradigm, you've got nowhere left to go because it hasn't worked. Somehow it's never going to work.
Mhm.
But you need a life that works as well.
Right. And in the 90s, all these things worked for me. But it was because I was getting in the way of the truth of who I am and God. Like I was getting in the way with alcohol and antidepressants and poor decisions where partners are concerned and poor behavior. Like all and shopping and anything to not look at the pain that I was in. I mean, I told Marianne today, I said I still get hooked. I get hooked by the babies that I carried and never had. I get hooked by the idea of in my head of what my life should be because we've spent lifetimes being programmed to being told what we think we want. So our reactions are just that. They are programmed into us
Hmm.
to react a certain way. Like when everyone's all pro-Trump or anti-Trump, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Like I can't I can't take a stand on anything anymore
Exactly.
other than love, other than truth. I can take a stand for neutrality and peace.
Exactly. And that's what letting go of control, which is a key part of satsang. And Tom told me that what's the biggest problem facing the human race during this transition process? He said the ego that controls and lack of a belief in an absolute reality. And that religions really mess with that. And remember, it's a mind control device. The same group, um, those of the interferences, the way God referred to them, they've been interfering with our perception of reality the entire time to keep us stuck in a bottleneck whilst they try to figure out what are they trying to achieve? Like, what's the motivation behind all of this? He said they're looking for a way to make the transition with you. So they've been keeping us, since the Roman Empire particularly, they've been keeping us in this holding pattern,
Mhm.
which the programming is designed to keep us spinning round and round in circles, whilst they try to figure out a way to piggyback off our conscious energy back up to 5D, full 5D. And that's done. That's all done. Firstly, they were trapped by the human race. We were designed from the ground up as a trap for this group. They fell for it hook, line, and sinker. They didn't really understand what they were getting involved with.
Mhm.
The seeding
Mhm.
of the planet and the human race was all overseen by the Nazarene as a being that God identified as the hawk. So the Atlantean civilization, everything that came from that, the first civilization, was all overseen by him because what the Atlantean destruction event is, we took in this group, um, allowed ourselves to be shut down to the most physically, what he said, you are the most physically dense race in the universe, to the foundation level of the universe, take everything that they could throw at us and still stay connected to the truth of who we are. And then once this period, which is now happening, 3i Atlas, the energy waves coming from the star, the sun. There are other devices all around the solar system that I was showing when I came out of the coma. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that energy wave is bringing us back up to full 5D, and there's nothing they can do. They're done. It's all
Mm-hmm.
over. And that's what they said
Um,
to me when I came out of the coma. They said, all the foundation work has now been done. The structure of the world will now conform. So that all that, like in our own life, the reason the Arcturians called it the great coming together and the great falling apart is all of us who have chosen it, and he said that it's better for you if you choose it, we've had our subconscious foundation belief system layer rearranged so that pieces have been disconnected. It's like, think of it like a puzzle that was all the pieces were put together in the wrong way.
mhm.
So firstly, to get the image, to get the foundation correct, you've got to pull them apart. That's because it's subconscious. It's not really a process you can see, connect. All you can do is both, there's a problem and you connect with the reality, and it takes you through a process automatically by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And that subconscious layer, that foundation layer, is because we're a collective consciousness. There are so many of us that have done it now that the whole human race has a new foundation, subconscious foundation. So everything in the physical world can now start to connect.
Yes, yes. You came out of the coma with such, I described it in to your comment on Amanda's post as vim and vigor. Like you came out of a coma that would flatten someone with so much excitement, and I want to talk about that excitement. But one of the things I remember you said was that the event of the destruction of the Atlantean civilization has been healed or something. You can talk about that, but I want to really fast because as I was thinking of asking that question, of course, Chase comes in with another perfect question related. And she says, what was the interference, those of the interference doing before the Atlantean destruction event? Why were they able to enter at the destruction event? When you say they threw all this stuff at us, what was the stuff? So,
Sure.
first of all, a few things there. The Atlantean event has been healed or overturned or what have
Reversed.
you. Second, why were you so darn excited, like smiling ear to ear? And third, what Chase said.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. Well, the Atlantean destruction event, the the energy wave that created it actually came from source. Um, it was like a reset because at that point we were master geneticists, but because this planet and this form is so physically dense, the feminine beauty of the human race is at its most, like the expression of the feminine is at its most beautiful in the human race. And that was manipulated and used as a trap. So we got drawn too far into sexual desire and perversion.
Mm-hmm.
They used the genetic knowledge they had. This is where a lot of this mythology from the Minotaurs and these things that came through the Greeks, because that's
Yes.
why he pointed out one of the names from God is Armakos. That was a way to preserve that knowledge. So there was all sorts of distortion around sexual organs, and it got really perverse. So a massive coronal burst hit the planet, and there's evidence of that. You can see the colossi of Memnon. There are some of the ruins from that period of like the hardest stone you can get melted. There's a staircase. I can't remember where it is exactly now, where you can see that it was molten at some point, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why. And Tom said to that there was a lot of fear after that. A lot of people had to go underground for quite a while. The planet was dark. There was so much thrown up into the atmosphere that for about a century plus, the planet was almost completely dark. So they all had to go underground. Plus, we lost our 5D connection. We
Mm-hmm.
became shut down to a more physically dense. Now, the group, those of the interference, they're made up of the central being is the one Tom called the one that fell,
Yeah.
right? So that's what people know in Christianity as Satan. But
Satan, right.
It's really important to understand the reality behind that and the mythology behind that, because the last thing they want us to do is access the truth. So they want to
Yes.
create this repellent, either you go all in with religion and you lose the truth in the process, or you react against it because of what happens when people do that. Either
Hmm.
way, you throw the baby out with the bathwater. So they've used that density that came post the Atlantean destruction because we fell to 3D, pretty much 3D consciousness. They kept us, it was very easy to manipulate us and keep us stuck in fear and amplify it and just keep it rolling. So that's been going on for 12,000 years. Well, this group, those are the interference. Um, there are some very negative ET races involved. The um, what are they called? The reptilian Draco reptilians are one of the worst. They're part of it. There are others.
So
They've
you're
been
talking about the royal family? Just kidding.
yes, well they're connected to it.
I know.
Absolutely.
I had to
Yeah.
say it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's a big connection.
Yeah.
They've been taking over civilizations.
Right, right. Which I've said on previous shows, all eyes are on Earth right now because we hold the DNA of all the civilizations in the universe. So when we unshackle ourselves, which we have, we're just watching it play out in the physical, we unshackle everyone.
Everyone. That's
Everyone.
exactly That's the whole
Okay.
purpose of the human race being created. The whole
Yeah.
reason that God said of this planet, no other planet in the universe has the biodiversity of Earth. No other race in the universe has the racial diversity of humanity. This sort of thing we have with Asians, Africans, all the different racial groups, that doesn't happen on other planets.
Right. Right.
So we were
But
put
what
together.
that didn't necessarily happen here. It was created. It was pushed on us, manipulated into us.
Well, there
Yes?
were lots of groups involved, but it was all overseen by the Nazarene as the Hawk. So the whole plan was to put together a race that was a super composite of the entire galaxy, because this
Right.
group's been moving through the universe, and in this galaxy, I think roughly about 2 billion years. So they go from civilization to civilization and put them through this process. Because civilization, there's the way energy moves in the universe, there's a natural state. So civilization has a natural state, and
Mm.
when you don't get in the way of it, it just naturally spirals up and comes back. The Renaissance was an example of civilization trying to come back into form. The Medici's, well, part of those are the interference. What are the two things they gave us? They sponsored art. So basically, if you wanted to be an artist in the Renaissance, it had to be religious iconography, and the mafia, organized crime. So
Wow.
they've been doing that since the collapse of Atlantis, with every
So
single
we've been
civilization
trying to emerge and
to
it's
come
been
back.
controlled and thwarted at every
Infiltrate.
turn.
So they've come in and manipulated our ignorance and reactionaryism and fear, and there's a lot of healing to do if you want to come back into the truth of who you are. And if of course that's tricky when there's no reference point for what that is. They've added to it. What they do is take control of the narrative. They take control of the flow of information. So you don't get access to it. It's very unclear, and the fear is then dominating, and they can really easily pull all the puppet
Oh
strings.
God,
So
yeah.
Babylon, the financial system was brought in and expanded, but the real big one was the Roman Empire because of the phase that we entered at that point, and that's why the hawk came back as the Nazarene in that at that time. It was to trigger the trap that the human race is.
Did the hawk come back as the Buddha first and then
There,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
So there were
Okay.
three
So
incarnations.
three incarnations of the Nazarene.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the hawk, the Buddha, and the Nazarene. So
Okay.
the Nazarene and the hawk are what's called uh, they're sort of like an avatar, born awake.
Oh, right.
So
Yeah.
there's the gurus, the Buddha. They're like us. That's the process we're going through. So when Tom said we are bringing you back across the valleys you're not across, um, that's what he's talking about. We started at the Atlantean age like the Nazarene. Then we fell because we chose the dark path. We fell to 3D. consciousness, which is why we only operate on 10% of our brain power, 10% of our DNA.
Mhm. Mhm.
Nature doesn't do that. Nature doesn't create something as complex as DNA in a brain and only use 10% of it.
Right.
Now
Right.
we fell. That's what the fall means.
Right.
Again, take the religious iconography, they take control of the narrative. So they've used religion to distort. They have to let the truth through because free will is the whole, without us choosing it, it can't work. But they throw a whole lot of confusion in with it.
Yeah.
So religion's a big example of that. Well, the Buddha came in Prince Siddhartha, the highest you can get in 3D physicality, and then woke up through the emptiness of that, came back to the truth of who he was. That represents the middle of the valley, which is where we're passing through. And then the Nazarene is where we're coming back to. And he said at the time, 2000 years ago, why are you so amazed? All this and more you too shall do, for as I am, so too are you. Of course, that was all edited out. That's blasphemy. And yet
Yeah,
that
I
was the
know.
whole point. That was the whole point of the Nazarene turning up. And that's they also, God told me of his execution, he could have stopped it at any time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was part of the plan. Plan A, we forced them to admit defeat. And if they had have done it, this is the human side, if they had have done it at that point and not taken the next step, which is to create corporations, the Catholic Church being the first, the Vatican is the first corporation, and that was the end game,
Mm-hmm.
what's called the fourth beast rising from the sea. If they hadn't, if don't take another step and you're redeemable, but take another step, you're done.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. And the human race being set up the way we were, it was described to my partner and I as the strategy of the human race was shoot for the moon, life's best hand. So the reason those of the interference were moving through the galaxy one race at a time is because of fractal geometry or collective consciousness. So your family is a collective consciousness. That's why it's so important. You can't edit out your family just because you don't like them. You're connected.
People try.
People try, yeah, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and that expands out to the human race. So each individual race is another version of a collective consciousness, and it keeps just growing from there, all the way to a galaxy, and then it keeps on going from there. So by doing this, the human race, genetically, we're connected to all the fundamental races of the universe, the galaxy, that all races in the galaxy come from. Our DNA is a composite. Thousands of worlds donated DNA in what's called the grand experiment, which is this
That's
creation of the
beautiful.
human race, isn't it? Yeah.
That's really beautiful. That's
What
that's
they had to
powerful
do,
too. Go on.
very powerful. Yeah. Well, what
Yeah.
they had to do, what they were trying to do is to take over, get enough self-aware life to choose the dark for them to replace God, because the one that fell is just an idea.
Mm-hmm.
The one that fell is really an idea that the ego can be separate from its source. So the ego that controls fear that we generate, the fear of the unknown, separates us from ourselves. So the idea was to try to get enough races to operate from that dynamic so that critical mass could be reached by free, had to be by free will, and the one that fell could then use the human race as a light space vehicle instead of it being source and us
Mm-hmm.
being an extension of source.
Mm-hmm.
Experience, the all it is, experiencing itself as the all it is. That's all self-aware life's about.
Mm-hmm.
By putting all of the races into one race, it was like a carrot. Here you go. Shoot for the
Yeah.
moon, life's best hand. If you can get this race, you've
Mm.
got the whole galaxy in one go.
Yep. Yep.
So that the temptation
So they're like, oh,
wow, let's
God,
go.
well, let's do it. One fell swoop.
Yep.
No, no, no.
And the reason the book's called The Only Planet of Choice is because the ramifications of what happens when you put a race together in that way. And this is the power of our free will and the way it operates. It, and then again, the whole point of what the Nazarene did with his brother James and the Magdalene.
Mm-hmm.
and how to trigger the human race as a trap to trigger it. So that all played out at the time of the Roman Empire. The reason he allowed them to execute him was the way it was put to me. He took a concentrated homeopathic dose of the truth of who you are into your collective consciousness. So who we were before the fall of Atlantis, in a very concentrated form into the collective consciousness of the human race. Then he told before his death, because he knew what was going to happen. He told them that his brother James, who was pretty much written out of history,
Yep.
he gave the mantle of the masculine principle of all of this to his brother and said, marry you, Magdalene and James, to marry and have children. And that set up, like I've said before, this soul group called the Four, that God called the Four, a network of twin flame soulmates. Now, there's nothing special or unusual. As the Nazarene said, everyone's the same as me. So we've got to get off that one. They want
Yep.
us to repel.
Yep.
But by doing that, it took a conscious group with a direct connection to 5D that couldn't be extinguished because by executing, they said yes to the plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it was so important. They were pulled in to a trap that they couldn't get out of. They said yes to the full plan being played out by executing
By
the Nazarene.
executing him. They
Yeah.
they're the ones who sealed their own demise.
Yes, they got caught in this trap, and it couldn't be resolved until they either found a way to win or this time in history came before they found a way to win, and that second part is what's happened.
So by the Nazarene taking the concentrated homeopathic dose of the truth of who we are into his system and being crucified, it's within all of us. But the church has twisted that around to him dying for our sins.
Yeah. Because what they wanted to see, they didn't understand the full ramifications of what they'd done by executing him. They didn't understand the full ramifications of what happens when you put multiple races together in one group. It alters the way free will works, because each individual has free will, but also a race. This is the whole reason that Atlantis fell, because as a race, too many people went down the dark path. So the
Mhm.
entire race chose that trajectory. You don't need everyone to do it. You just need a percentage.
That hundredth monkey that you talk
The
about, the
100th
hundred,
monkey
yeah,
effect,
yeah, yeah,
precisely.
yeah.
That's right. That's
That
right.
speaking of Atlantean civilization, Chase asked even further, how were Atlanteans thriving without those of the interference or the interference? Were they in collective consciousness, and how did they achieve that? It's a pretty good question.
It is a good question. Yeah. And all of that was there. It's just the way Tom put it, the one that fell came upon them. So there was a core group. So it was an infiltration process that took quite a while. So
Okay.
firstly, it starts with a small group and it expands out from there. Then they sort of start to twist the direction that the race as a whole moves through. So by playing us off with the temptation to go into the physical through the feminine, it was a bit of a weakness of being this physically dense. Um, they could move us through a trajectory. So that grew. The group got bigger. More and more people got sucked into this
Yeah.
twisted sort of viewpoint, the inversion process, until there were so many that the whole race chose
Right.
that effectively.
Finally went, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that
But in
reset of
97, enough of us chose light
yeah,
that we're pulling everyone with us,
with
whether
the
they
boat.
like it or
Yeah.
not. So then, okay.
And
So,
that's because you only need, with the racial setup that we have, normally on a race, you would need about two-thirds of the race to choose a new behavior for that to be taken on by the group. With us, it's like
the fraction
fine.
of that,
Yeah,
fraction of that.
that's right.
So Maida asks, I may have missed this, but are the Nazarenes the same as the Essenes?
The Essenes came from the Nazarene, yes.
Okay,
That was the group that was directly connected with him when he first connected. The Gnostics came from that as well.
right. Yeah,
The Nag Hammadi texts that were buried in the Sinai desert, that was
yeah,
all directed by the Nazarene
yeah.
because there were this whole the councils of Mycenae process, or the process the Roman Empire went through by stealing control of the narrative around the nature of the Nazarene and the reality of it. That was all known ahead of time. So there was a counter move made. So all of the like the Gospel of Philip as it's and again, I don't like using this,
I
but
know the religious, the biblical.
yeah,
Yeah, I know.
people
I
get
know.
triggered by it. But God said about the Bible, he called it our word book. He said it's a portion of letting through of truth by a
Yes.
process he called the. It's important for the human race to get a handle on this stuff.
Yeah.
Pick the difference between that there is a truth and there's a lot of distortion around it. When you start to get the ability to discern the difference, it becomes permanent. And that's what's spreading now. And you're
Right.
going to see it hit over the next 18 months, a series of events play out in the big picture where it gets too obvious.
Thank God.
The ET connection with us now is going to go through the roof,
Yep.
physically, tangibly. It's going to become too obvious. There are multiple ships, massive ships all around the sun at the moment, coming from the Arcturians that are beaming energy into the star. That's why there's this huge gap that's opened up within the sun. It's sending energy towards the planet. The sun, basically, it's the engine room behind the entire solar system. So the frequency the sun vibrates at interacts with the resonant frequency of each planet. And then there's a sum total that makes up. Well, that frequency is now bringing the planet's frequency back up to what it was before the Atlantean destruction event. That's important because the human body resonates at
I was just going to say that. We're
the same.
feeling it as that's
That's
happening.
why, exactly.
We,
That's
we,
why
we
it's
need
getting intense.
food less. We love the sun more. We're feeling it's uncomfortable and painful, but it's a lightening. It's a
Yeah,
right? Okay.
exactly. And that's and it's yes, it anything that's not compatible with that frequency, fundamentally, the interference. That's why God called it those of the interference. To think of the frequency. So the core frequency the universe operates from, the sound of Om, as it's called in the Vedas, that light then comes out of, that the holographic projection that everything is really formed from, that core frequency, those of the interference have a frequency that's just off. So you
Right.
can't fully incarnate, you can't fully connect to what's around you. It's easy to manipulate you. And there's a big distortion. Well, that's all being corrected. So anything that isn't of that is being brought out. And that means all the suppressed emotional energy that we've had to carry for 12,000 years as a race within our own personal lives, our family line.
Right.
Think of
Well,
all
I
the
mean,
trauma we've gone through.
it's all the trauma that we haven't looked at and healed, and as far as the resonant and in 1890 in Milan, Italy, there was a conglomerate that literally changed the tuning of music
Hmm.
just
Just
off,
that.
right? And that's why I refuse to say Happy New Year, which Janine Morisot is wonderful about it. She's like, I know it's the cabal's New Year, but it's what we got, so Happy New Year. And I love that about her. So I don't say Happy New Year. I say here's to an easeful 2026. But
Yeah.
that's so the tuning of the orchestras around the world in like an overnight were were shifted from the natural to the
430,
unnatural.
432 hertz to 440. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but it just little enough to keep us separate from nature,
Yeah.
just the same as the whole Gregorian calendar, the
Mhm.
13 months, the new year being in the coldest, most
Yeah.
when we're supposed to be hibernating and slowing down and quiet. Like the new year is the end of March, beginning of April, when the
That's
buds
right.
start coming out and we start feeling better. Like
Yeah.
that's the new year. But anything to keep us separate from nature because nature is source. I mean, everything is source, but you know what I mean. It
Yes.
was it was absolutely just like nothing is fucking real. Like this is
Yeah.
why I say I believe the unbelievable. I look batshit crazy. And you know
Yeah.
what? I'm never going to stop believing the unbelievable. Nope.
That's it. And you're holding, really, you're holding a line of direction, which is the question, okay, what's the real truth? Like, why is this all happening the way it is? Like, why does life suck so much? And, instead of going around in circles defending a belief system to pretend that that's not even a thing, you've
Right.
actually now opened up a trajectory. So you're moving through a trajectory. You're being taken through a process of having all of the energy that behind the weight of that belief system dissipated, which isn't comfortable at times and is very up and down. You can feel like you're going around in circles at times. One of the great things Ramana said is disillusionment is the final state. So the final state before what's called enlightenment, waking up, the Buddha process. You go through all the different states of mind that trap your attention and lock you in a false reality of the mind. Um, Disillusionment, in other words, everywhere you look, it's all bad. You can't find anything anymore to pretend or feel positive about. That's not easy, but it's important threshold or doorway to get through because we were always stuck in a mind frame rather than letting the problem with that is you're stuck in future past, which isn't real.
No.
It's not real in the sense that there is only this living moment right now.
Yeah.
Now we can use our experience of this moment from yesterday and project our mind forward into the possibilities, the potentials of the moment that's coming towards us tomorrow. But that's a
Hmm.
very different thing. Fear makes you get out of the moment and it's just in the head. So you're
Right.
not actually receiving reality. And God described the body mind to me as a receiver. You are all a receiver. So conditioning turns us into a transmitter. We have to, and this is what you're all experiencing with your family and friends and society and the media, is the you're being blamed for their flaw. They're blaming you as the source of the problem because you're representing a clean spot, that there's another
Right.
way to meet all of this, which is the
You
question, what's the
said,
truth?
right. You said all of us are the lightning rod for everyone else's anger and resistance to seeing any of this. We
Mhm.
are the light. Everyone on this call is a lightning rod for their family's discomfort and anger and disbelief. And I'm a whack job and
Mhm.
you're crazy. And what am I doing? Hey, at
Yeah.
least I'm brave enough to be curious about all of it.
And to let the answer come to you rather than telling everything what it is.
Right.
And
Right.
looking at the motivation behind it, being really honest about the motivation, but you've got to get to a point where you're willing to do that. Now,
Yeah.
we've all got this natural sensitivity, which has made it intolerable in a lot of ways, which caused us to want to go, hang on a minute, I'm done with this. But and in this false reality, you can't be sensitive. You have to desensitize to cope with it. Some personality
Absolutely.
types, yeah, exactly. And some personality types can handle that better than others. So they get more
Neutrality is our
locked in.
superpower.
That's
Neutrality
it.
is our superpower. Right.
And that's
Right.
what one of the things God said, we've asked for unity. So when you get polarity and you include them as one whole, the direction of energy stops going in opposite directions. So they get more and more polarized, which is what the
Hmm.
media does.
Oh,
It keeps us
yes.
in polarity.
Yes.
Instead, you turn around and you're willing to ask the truth. And now you're looking at the balance point between you and everything around you, the middle ground. And you're letting by doing that, you allow the true nature of what you're looking at in front of you to change back into its form. So that's why
But in
disillusionment is the final state.
right, but in doing that, so in having this neutral attitude or something about the external geopolitical events or wars or what have you, you look cruel. You look
Mm,
cold. You look
mm.
unfeeling. You are, in fact, the opposite of those things.
Yeah,
You are no longer allowing your emotions to be dictated by what they tell you to feel. It's
that's right.
very, it's disorienting on one hand and completely orienting on the other.
Mm.
It's it's very strange.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
you look cruel. It's a hard place to stand to
It
keep
is to
that.
stay. It is, and it's designed that way.
Yeah.
The inversion uh, narrative, controlled narrative is designed to do that. It's to make it really
Yeah.
hard for you to stay in the moment and let the truth unfold in front of you.
Mhm.
And like Trump is a classic example. Being neutral about Trump, it's okay. It's okay not to know and to have the question, what's really going on there? And it's tricky to live that way out in
Oh
the big
yeah.
picture
When
because
everybody else is not living that way.
no,
Like, of
that's
course
right.
you're the crazy one.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there's a truth to it that is innate. That's why God said, "What is the problem facing humanity? Lack of a belief in an absolute reality." There's a natural order or natural state to the way energy moves in the universe. That consciousness follows that you don't need to manipulate or control.
Right.
And in fact, the best thing you can do to ruin life is to get in the way of it, thinking you know better.
Right.
You don't truly know a thing until you've lived it. So there's so much opinionatedness flying around out there about what's going on
Yeah.
that that's always been used to serve this keeping the keeping the problem alive, keeping the control system alive without us realizing it. We think we're doing the right thing, or we
Thinking
think
the
we
right thing.
and thinking from ourselves, but really we're
We're
thinking from
not.
the control program. And that's
Right.
got to be seen now by the human race as a whole, and it will be. The controlled narrative, the collapse of the mainstream media is in process right now. It's
Yeah, that reminds me, that's something that Janine Morigeau said on her latest World News was that the mainstream media is now in the hands of the White Hats, which brings me to another Chase question. She's very curious about the White Hats,
Mhm.
wants to understand them better. I'm like, don't we all?
Yes.
So if you want to talk about that, because the mainstream media right now still feels, of course, because all of this has to be a slow drip effect right now. Otherwise, people will lose their ever loving minds and jump off bridges in droves.
Yes.
But but I'm willing to believe that the mainstream media is in the hands of the white hats right now. But if you could talk about the white hats, I'm going to look for Chase's question and see if I can give you a little more clarity on that.
Yes, well, absolutely. Well, this group, those are the interference, and the reason why the human race was put together in this strategy is because uh, there are benevolent races, very, very highly evolved benevolent races that have been moving with this process throughout the universe since the beginning of the universe, since this imbalance. Because what's happened over time is the fabric of the universe, the fundamental nature of the polarity of the universe has been put out of alignment. So the human race was put together to bring balance back to the force, is the way Star Wars put it. Star Wars was given to Lucas by God, by Tom. He called it the story of the universe. So there are a lot of analogies throughout that movie that help you kind of decode what we've been living through, because it's a paradigm shift. The thing with paradigm shifts is you can't see the new paradigm from the old paradigm. So there's got to be a bridge, which that bridge is the willingness not to know. And of course, you can see why they've fed fear into our belief system, because you don't want to do that.
And they use death too, fear of death.
Fear of death.
Um, is humanity Darth Vader?
The ego that controls is
The
represented by
ego
Darth
that
Vader.
controls Darth
Yeah.
Vader. That's right. I knew I had it wrong.
So
I
Anakin
mean, kind of.
Skywalker, yeah, I mean, yes, it also represents the dynamic of the human race. So the ego in service to the all it is Anakin Skywalker, and the reason he's expressed as the one chosen to bring balance back to the Force was because he was the only one strong enough to go all the way into the dark and then choose the light at the last minute. And in the end, he was the one who destroyed the one that fell.
All right.
So he
Yes,
connected all the dots.
he went all the way in and then did the right thing
Yeah,
when it
turned around.
mattered.
He connected the dots in that last duel with Luke Skywalker, and the
Right.
one, and the Emperor was overseeing it all. Yes, strike him down, and then take your place by my side, and together we'll be more powerful than you can possibly imagine. And of course, he said no because he's his father. He chose love over that winning, if you like, and
Right.
being right. And
Right.
Vader's on his back on the floor. And he realizes, and you can see him looking between the Emperor and Luke, and the Emperor and Luke, and click, 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 click. He suddenly realized what it all was about.
Yeah.
Why was he the chosen one? And so he gets up and he picks him up and throws him into the void. And he gives his life for his son.
Hmm.
So unconditional love, and that action was what brought balance back.
Yeah.
And like Luke says to him, um, I'll say, Father, I can save you. And he said, you already have.
Yeah.
And then he goes off and he comes back in his Anakin Skywalker form, in that spirit form next to Obi-Wan and Yoda,
Oh yeah.
and that was always the way it was meant to play out. Well,
I
that's the
got
human race.
goosebumps.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And the twin flame soulmate group was represented by Luke, Leia, and Solo.
Yes. Yes, you have shared that before.
Yeah.
Luke,
So
Leia, and Solo.
that's right. So they were about breaking the stranglehold of the controlled narrative. So Luke and Leia are what's called twin souls.
Right.
So the way the group connects is, yeah, you can imagine 2,000 years ago. By now, there's a lot of twin flames around the planet, thousands and thousands and thousands, because they had four
I
children, and from there,
that so
generation
wait,
after
are all
generation.
twin flames descendant of
Mm.
James and the Magdalene?
Yep.
All twin flames. Okay. And not everybody is a twin
No,
flame. Okay,
no,
here a friend said to me recently that the way they understood it is that the twin flames other is not on the world on the planet with them. And I said, "No.
no. That's
That's like
this
higher
gener.
self stuff."
There are twin flames, and look, not every twin flame takes on the soul group, takes on the purpose because it's intense, particularly
Right.
the male.
Yes.
Yeah, Luke and Leia are twin souls, so they connect side by side, and that's what we call soulmates. So that's what we all kind of imagine a soulmate to be, where you can finish each other's sentences and it's just effortless because
Mhm.
you're on the same plane. You're sharing the same viewpoint of everything. That's there within the system,
Can
but
you have more
also
than one?
um, that's a tricky one to answer.
It is a
That's a
tricky
tricky
one to
one to answer.
answer.
I'm not
Yeah, yeah.
quite sure
That's
because
okay.
yeah, I'm not 100% sure of that. I mean, I've had an experience with two myself, but I have a feeling that there was only one ever destined. But I had to go
Yeah.
through a process, like both of us had to go through a process, and that's because Leia and Solo are twin flames, and they stand opposite each other.
Yeah.
And that's why when they first meet, and again, this is all analogy. This is all analogy, but that
Mhm.
reactionaryism of belief system, when they first connect, they react to each other.
Yeah.
She thinks he's like too street. She's a princess and he's kind of like a street guy. So they trigger each other, but they get through a process where they come back together through that, not around it, but through it. They connect. There's that point where Solo says to Leia, I love you, and she says, I know, and they're crossing some gap on a swing thing. And that's really why it's tough, because you've got to go through a life where you have what's called an indelible soul purpose. The Arcturians described that to me as indelible soul purpose. When they showed up physically to me in 2016, they answered the question I'd always had, like, why I've been having these experiences, these 5D experiences, like what's that all about? And um, they said that I had to have a 5D connection, and that's why what the Nazarene did was so important. By doing that, they they said yes. Those of the interference said yes to allowing this to happen. That the mind control conditioning couldn't completely erase our conscious connection to full 5D. So all the twin flames have a relationship to that in some way.
Hmm.
For me, it's clear sight. I get pulled into, the connection with the hawk, that the you take away the ego that controls. the ego in service to self has the ability to rise up above a situation and look at it purely objectively without editing the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
To do that, you've got to be clear within yourself. So your thinking, your
Mm-hmm.
belief system, and your emotional energy need to be in right alignment. So that's what they represent. So
So what do you think about twin flame not being on planet together? What do you think
well,
about
that's
that?
this generation coming up now. So our kids' generation, their twin flame is off planet. Yeah.
Oh, right. Right,
But
right.
we had to get to a point where we could receive that level of connection we have to the universe as a race. But our belief system was in the way,
Yeah.
like big time. We had to get drawn through a process. The human race had to be brought through a process where we could be gradually freed of that. But we had to choose it too, as
Mm-hmm.
well. So that's why the Nazarene told the Magdalene and his brother to have children was the Nazarene's brother James was the closest thing on the planet at the time to the Nazarene's resonant frequency. The Nazarene couldn't have children simply
Right.
because for that concentrated homeopathic dose to work, his paternal DNA had to be artificially inseminated. But his mother's bloodline went all the way back to the Hawk, to Atlantean. That's why she was chosen. She had to not have had a child first because what happens is there's a new frequency within the mother from the child because they're individuals.
Mm-hmm.
They share a family consciousness, but they're also individuals. So that brings in a new frequency within the mother. So he had to be the first. So that's the whole Star of Bethlehem thing, this beam of light,
Yep.
DNA can be carried in
And that's
water,
the
and
whole virgin thing.
the whole virgin thing,
Yeah,
take away the
yeah.
mythology. Yeah, he had to be in full 5D form, an avatar, born awake, and that DNA had to be completely switched on. The only way that could happen is have it artificially inseminated, the male DNA. But then James was born very close after the mother, very close after the Nazarene. So his cellular structure was put together with that same frequency. So it was permanent with him. If you were around at the time of the Nazarene, you could be in his presence, you would feel that energy, massive. And it would have an effect on you, but it would dissipate as well with distance.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you you could go through a process, but with James it wasn't the case. It was permanent with him, so that when he had children with the Magdalene, that full 5D connection couldn't be erased.
Well, they were so close in birth order as well. So there was the Nazarene and then there was James. And didn't they have like six or seven others? They had a few girls and a few more
Yeah, there
boys.
were a few kids.
Joseph,
Yeah,
I know, Joseph and Mary were busy.
busy, busy.
What it's so funny and so funny. She's like, I'm still waiting to hear about the smile on Gareth's face when he came out of his coma.
Sure,
Like,
okay.
okay.
Well, the the power of that energy wave and the fact that it's done, like now um, the physical impact of all the work that's been done is going to start showing up. So the controlled narrative around COVID is, as you can already see, it's gone to another level. That's going to keep collapsing. That's really playing out now. It's like the horse has been let out of the stable. The whole lot is released now in the physical and it's playing out and it can't be stopped. So everything in our society is going to be undone gradually, bit by bit. The galactic help we've got is now going to go through the roof and become more and more obvious to more and more people because first open contact is playing out. That's been going on under the surface for quite a long time, and I felt it all. When I came out of the coma, I felt it all. Tom was there. As soon as I spoke the name of the Sphinx, that compression wave went poof, and and I felt it. Like I can't describe it any other way. But
I felt it from
finally,
here. I felt it from here.
yeah, that feeling, finally it's done. Something in me just relaxed.
Yep.
And now it's just a matter of watching it play out in the world around us. But we know what we're looking at in a way that most people don't. And you're going to be very glad. You're going to understand what Tom meant by it's better for you if you choose it. It's better for you if you choose to go, hang on a minute, what's going on? Than go, no, nothing to see here. And everyone who thinks there's anything to it is an idiot. They're going to find out what he meant.
Yeah.
Those of the interference are going to find out what God meant when he said we would not like to be in their shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just looking back through the text to find the first one you sent me after coming out of the coma because it was so excited. It was like, it's done. Your text was, it's done, Katie. It's done. Just hold on, watch.
Exactly. Exactly. You know what I mean? Everyone just hold that space in the middle, that there is a natural order to reality, that you don't have to do anything. In fact, the best way you can do to screw your life up is think you've got to control everything.
Yeah.
So it's intense because of the nature of what's being healed by it. It's
Yeah.
releasing a lot of suppressed emotional energy that, all the anger you're seeing, that all of the pain and suffering and stuff is
Mhm.
just a lot of it's released energy. Now we've already been through a process to a degree with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to feel on a lot of levels, but if you can just keep bringing your mind back to the middle 0 point between all the polarities,
Mm.
let the conclusions be there, let the emotional energy be there, let meet the feeling and let the story be there and challenge the story. That's how you get out from under this self-doubt,
Yeah.
because that part of you that can read all of this is now switched on big time. And the part of it that it can connect to is coming to you in a big way. And it's everything in between is being brought out into the open. And that's happening on a global level.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. There's the
Is
sting operations that you'll see now coming. Um,
I feel
you
like
know,
the child sex trafficking will be a big one in the first
massive,
quarter of the year.
huge.
Yeah, yeah. And I think banks are collapsing as we speak.
They're
Like
going after them.
silver is just,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
now, again, all the work, I mean, a transition of financial systems already put in place that's decentralized. That's all sitting there. It's all about timing too. It's all about timing
yeah,
because we have to understand why this happened.
yeah.
If we
We
have
have to
believed a
see it.
lie,
We have to own
exactly,
it. We have to see it.
yeah, we kept acting on this false premise and reinforcing it like it was true.
Yeah.
And that caused a reflection that seemed to prove self-doubt and you insist you have a human nature. We have this sort of, humans are fundamentally flawed
Oh
belief.
God, what a load of shit.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
act in this reactionary way, and it creates a reflection that seems to prove that belief to get
Yes.
out from under that,
Self-fulfilling bullshit. Right,
prophecy.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
The
exactly,
whole
exactly.
climate change hoax is like to make us to take the weight of the responsibility of
Yeah,
the unthoughtful treatment of Mother Earth and put it up, which is the corporations and the industries, and put it on humanity so that we guilt ourselves for our very existence
yes,
on the planet that was created for our very existence. It's just like
exactly.
so mind-numbing when you see it.
Yeah, that's right. And that we all see it is the critical thing,
Is
and
the
that's going to
critic,
go
yeah.
in, yeah, in a sequence of events. So
Yeah.
you'll see a sort of it'll perhaps make the polarity between those who can hear this, or at least willing to allow the possibility. That's all you got to do.
Yep.
And those who can't, full stop.
Yeah.
That might get a little more intense, but the physical, let's say, tangible proof will get more clear. So
Mm-hmm.
the collapse of control narrative around COVID is the thing that unlocks the whole thing. If they lied about that, what else have they lied about? That there is a they, that they have an infrastructure that can pull off a lie on that scale has to be a question that gets taken off the table, just like the existence of ET. That question has to be resolved. It can no longer be something that everyone can just go, you're an idiot if you think so. So
I
those two
can't
questions,
wait. I
yeah, well,
can't
that's what's
wait.
playing out. Exactly.
Oh my
But people
God.
have to understand that the belief system they hold is a socially engineered product.
Yes. Yes, you and I talked about this. I don't know if it was earlier today or yesterday. We talked about the well, I know you know the three trans words, the God, ETs, and the Nazarene or Jesus. Like basically anything you think differently, their first response, the Mr. Smiths in the Matrix, is to say you're crazy, a
Yeah,
whack job,
yeah,
loony. Like the first thing is to discount your credibility. And then you and I talked about academia. Academia is going to get hit so hard. They're going to be
gonna hurt.
walloped with their own arrogance. And
Yes.
I can't wait. I mean, of course, I have compassion as well, but also, come on. So, like, oh my God, my own son throwing his degree in my face. I'm like, are you kidding me right now, dude? I'm
Hmm.
like, have a dead baby and have a drinking problem and be on antidepressants for half your life and have failed relationship after failed relationship and then fucking come back and talk to me and
Yeah,
still keep your heart and your love for everyone and
yeah.
everything, you little shit. So poor guy. I hope he never watches these things. I love him so much. A couple of things in the chats real fast.
Sure.
Um, oh, Lindsay is lovely. She says, "We are human beings, not human doings." That's a wonderful quote. I love that.
Perfect.
And Roseanne is asking a question that she will not get the answer to, Roseanne, because there are quite a few things, or a handful of things that Gareth knows that he is under strict instruction not to share. But I think this question can't be answered even by him. It's within his consciousness, it's within his, but maybe not accessible now since the coma. Roseanne wants to know what's the name of the Sphinx?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That'll come out. He said that the true knowledge of that will be brought at another time.
Yes.
However, we're
Yeah.
moving into that time. So
Sorry,
what?
Roseanne. It
Sorry.
is a
So
Sudoku puzzle, but it's not for
yeah,
us.
there is there are a lot of people around the
She
world
says
connected to this.
figures.
Yeah,
Sorry.
figures.
She
I
says
know.
figures.
Yeah,
Go
figures.
on, go on. A lot of people around the world. I'm sorry I interrupted.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of people around the world who have invested their lives into this transition process, and there are a lot of people around the world who are part of this cabal, this deep state, who are
Hmm.
about taking them out.
Hmm.
So there are some codes involved in that that would expose things before they're ready. So when the timing's right, it'll come
Yes.
through. It'll come through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
But
knew
it was
that.
built for God.
Yep.
The Sphinx was built for God.
Yep. I remember that. I remember that. And then Eliza says she is so happy you're okay.
Thank you, Eliza.
Yeah,
Thank
she's a
you.
sweetheart. Mike did a laughing emoji and Roseanne says it's okay. So we're off the hook. It's okay that you can't tell us the name of the Sphinx. Um, and
The
Janelle
Galactics
said,
might do that.
yeah, the Galactics might do that. Like
Mm,
when open contact happens, a lot of the answers may come.
mm.
Because once our heads don't explode with the 3 mile wide motherships landing or hovering over every major city, once the shock of that wears off, we could probably handle any truth.
That's right.
So, and then Janelle says, I can feel the shift happening, but because I can see through the circus, I'm still waiting for the physical proof. Am I missing something? Oh
No.
my God, let me just answer real fast, Janelle, you're not missing a thing. I have told Gareth numerous times, and even on this show a couple of weeks ago, that as much as I know, this whole thing is about the inner work, the inner journey. Nothing on the external should affect me. I should want to be water on a duck's back. So solid and grounded in love and faith and truth that none of that affects me. But I told him and Anne and everybody at the same time, I need the physical proof. I need the change to come. I don't need it in
Mm.
that way, but there's such a leveling of the playing field with humanity catching up to what we already know. Not that anybody's behind, but catching up to what we already know lightens the load we've been carrying alone. That physical proof, we don't need it in that way, but boy, oh boy, will it just really present such levity in our spirit and our lives. Like I can't even imagine it, but I can imagine it, which is why I get so excited about it. and I want it so
Right.
dearly.
Well, that's the reason I was so excited when I came out of the coma, was because that's the point we're at now. There are enough people. The thing about it's not, the problem isn't the emotional, the feeling, and of course, you can only be where you're at. But as soon as you're open to the truth being what it is, um, and letting, now everything serves you becoming more aware, be able to discern the difference between the truth and a controlled narrative, and that's the critical thing. The way the Arcturians put it to me, I think this was in 2018, they said everything that's been taken from you will be given back. Everything that's been used against you will be turned back to the user. Well, that last part's what just happened. That
That's
energy
why you were
wave,
smiling, and that's why he was smiling.
that's it. That energy wave represents the sum total willingness for us to let go. What does let go of control mean? Let go of form and timing. The group that I was with in the UK when I spoke with Tom, there was about 3.5 months between the two conversations. And I got a lot of connection with way more depth from them. One of the sayings they used to have was, "We're all on Tom time."
Hmm.
And one of the things Tom said, "We do not have the time set by men." So this whole thing about the end times, what does that mean? And what does he mean by said by men? This is the left brain out of balance, the masculine principle, which is the ego. The ego in service to self, sacred masculine and Nazarene. The ego in control, that's the dark, the one that keeps reinforcing itself because it doesn't want to die. But the mind isn't permanent. The mind's not who you are. The thing about the ego, what a lot of people don't understand, is the ego is the thought I. But just think about, all thoughts are language based. So who was aware of the first thought you ever had? Consciousness has to be there first.
Right,
So there is no death.
right.
You only change form. God called the body mind a light space vehicle, the soul, which is eternal consciousness, the light of consciousness. We get into a car, we live a life where the car matches the sole purpose. In other words, if you want to be a utility vehicle or a four-wheel drive, depending on what your purpose was, the vehicle matches the purpose, but it's just a vehicle. And once the purpose of the vehicle is finished, you get out of that vehicle, you debrief, and then you go and get into another one.
That's another thing that I asked you yesterday about humanity holding all the DNA from all the civilizations, and that being a physical thing. When we die, it feels like then we lose that specialness, is the first part of my question. You explained it yesterday. I'd like you to explain it here a little bit more. But then
Mhm.
also, there's a really lovely poem going around the internet right now by James McCrae.
Oh, I think I heard that this morning.
Oh, okay. I might have sent it to you. The poem about I sent it to you, I think, but in the poem, it talks about the monotony of eternity. And my comment was, monotony of eternity. Well, I'm not signing up for that shit. Like, I love the poem, but okay, so then that makes me think, so say none of us exist down here, everyone's in spirit. I've heard from Dolores Cannon, from you, from various other people, that we retain our personality as individuated souls, even when we return to spirit. Our humor and our, the little things that make us us. So we retain that. So how is there monotony in eternity if we're all flitting around having a party for all time? But
Yeah.
then someone tried to explain it as, well, that's why you're here on Earth, to break up the monotony. I just don't ever, since remembering God, since remembering faith, I've never for a second thought about eternity as monotonous. Although the human Katie has often been like, oh God, that's a really long time. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Like, I wish I brought that crossword puzzle book. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Okay, so anyway, touch on that
Yeah.
if you
Well,
could.
that's it, from this perspective, you could look at it that way because we're finite in this body mind, but we're infinite as a soul because the energy that everything comes from is infinite. So our connection to the form and timing of the universe is what's eternal. That's all the energy that the universe is made from. There's only one single frequency that all, I was shown this when I was 2 years old, that all form comes from. We experience that as love.
Mhm.
Our connection, our emotional connection to that is love. It's light, it's awareness, it's consciousness, and that everything comes from that. So it's like you're eternally in love and
Right.
eternally aware of the all that is, eternally aware of of
Sign
the
me up.
reality.
Sign me up.
Yeah, it's a different whole different perspective, and it's a difficult one to hold in this current physical form. That's a tough one.
It's the one quote you say to me all the time, the totality of understanding is not for your human
Yeah,
comprehension.
and this is the other thing. Totality of understanding is beyond your comprehension, is the way he put it. So it's an attempt to try to put that into a mind conclusion, which is finite. You can't do that. So
Right, right.
it's that feeling of the need, the imperative behind it, that definition, holding that feeling while you let the truth be something you can't see yet. That's the whole transition. We're going through that on so many levels, and that's why it's so intense. Fear,
Yes, yes.
the way Ramana Maharshi put it, the only way to know fear isn't real is to let it come and get you. And that
Mm-hmm.
means surrendering form and timing, that
Yep.
everything is happening as it needs to happen in the way it needs to happen. And my conclusions of anything else, that's what I doubt. Maybe I haven't got it right. Maybe there's more to this than I understand. Now, as soon as you do that, you're in the gap. As soon as you're in the gap, you're in the feeling that you need to control everything
Oh
from
yeah.
self-doubt. So it's
Yeah.
tough, but it burns it up because it's just a mind conclusion.
Yeah, yeah. I got a great comment. I love this because I've read The Only Planet of Choice multiple times, and I get so much from it. And I gotta say, God's got a really good sense of humor. When they talk about sex, God is so funny. But
Yeah.
that's not the comment in the chats. That's not the comment in the chats. The comment is from Lindsay, and it says Tom said in the book, one of the civilizations lived for 1 million human years.
Hmm.
That's in physical form.
Yes,
That's some cool shit.
that's right. That's
Could you
it.
imagine what you could do? I could be fluent in sign language and Japanese and Mandarin, and I could be a concert pianist. Like,
Mhm.
what?
This is the other thing that's tricky, and gets back to frequencies of planets and the body of the self-aware life that comes from the planet. This is why it's called Mother Earth. Is time is relative to the observer. So in that life, you may not experience that million years in human terms in the same way.
It's that
If
whole
you understand
totality
what
of
I mean.
comprehension, totality of
Yeah,
understanding.
that's right. So frequencies operate in different ways. But they can come in and out of their world into our world as an individual over that million years. But the reference between our time frame and theirs can be different.
Oh.
Time isn't fixed. That's why Tom said we do not have the time said by men. Left brain, our linear left brain, we want to quantify everything as one thing, and it doesn't quite work like that. It's a trip, I understand. It is quite trippy, but different planes of existence operate at different frequency or different speeds. So time is a flexible thing depending on that light space vehicle and the plane of
Right.
existence.
And like Roseanne says, we think of time as linear, but we think of it that way because they've pushed it on us that way.
Yes.
They've created that very intentionally.
Yes.
That's fear narrative, death narrative,
Yeah.
right? So,
Fixedness.
so do we know who that civilization was that lived 1 million years?
One of them is
I don't.
Altair.
Okay. That's why when you're talking to me and I'm suffering or sad or and you say ask for a beam of light, a
Protect-
white Go on.
Ask for protective beam of white light from Altea,
Yes.
ALTEA. They're one
EA.
of the what Tom called the 24 civilizations, one of the core primary civilizations, the first to emerge in the history of the universe. I can really recommend doing that. It's not going to be like a light of bolt of lightning comes out and goes, yeah,
No.
there you go. It's
It's all
I think,
fixed.
yeah, sometimes we think we want a dramatic answer straight away, and if we don't get it, we think it's all crap. But it doesn't work like that. But when you do that, you're connecting with this fundamental balance point that everything is, that it is peace and at the core, peace and love at everything. You're willing to let the story be there and the
Yeah.
feeling be there. So it's a way to call that in. May I please have a protective beam of white light from Altair is another way of saying, can you please help me to stay in the middle in this intense moment? That there is
Yes.
a middle, that I can let go of trying to control the outcome, that perhaps this experience, sometimes to go somewhere properly, you got to go a long way out of your way. Perhaps this experience is because my mind conclusions don't understand why this is the help I asked for.
Yeah.
But I'm prepared to accept the possibility. Now that's going to let go of a lot of stuff. Just the fact that you're prepared to let go of the possibility, to allow the possibility, sorry, that it's part of the help you've asked for, even though it looks the opposite in some
Yep.
ways.
Yep.
Like
What
going to
looks like,
families at Christmas.
which I did not do for the first time.
And again, this stuff too, he said your motivation to protection in all things. So if you're doing that to protect yourself and stay stuck in a belief system that isn't serving you and throw that all off onto other people, it won't work. But if you're at the right point and you're free of it and you can step back, that's a different thing. It looks the same on the outside in a lot of ways, but
Yeah.
getting clear about how to move through life in relationship in a way that serves everybody means you're not going to play the game of the interference.
No,
And
no.
that's a different
I
thing from avoiding people because you don't want to go there.
Right. Oh yeah, very different. Very different. I have this innate ability in me though, like no matter who doesn't want to talk to me or be around me or love me, the like I wouldn't the door would always be open. There will never be a, oh, you're too late. But with everyone around me who I've lost or fell away, there is the very human fear in Katie that what if when I'm ready to come back, I'm not welcome. I do get that. I do have that fear. I get hooked. I get hooked in all the thoughts. Yeah.
And it's okay. That's a great example. You feel the feeling, you've got the story or the mind conclusion around it. You can't edit them out or pretend they don't exist. It doesn't work actually.
No.
What you
Uh-uh.
can do is say, maybe there's more to this than I'm seeing. There's an
I
unknown
know.
quantity. As soon as you do that, you invite it in.
Yeah.
Now you'll go through a series of experiences. You've asked for help, you've been given the help, so you're being brought through a series of experiences that are directly connected with getting more discernment, so you can see the middle way, if you like, the middle path through everything
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
works. But you've got
Um,
to you've got to directly experience it. You don't truly know a thing until you lived it. You can't
no.
superimpose a philosophy over the top of fear and have
No.
it remove it. It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. It
You
doesn't work.
live the reality that the fear wasn't real in the first place because the belief system that created it isn't right. It's not accurate.
No. No, right. Exactly. Exactly. Back to the white hats thing really, really quickly. Um, really
That's a
quickly.
mixed
That's so
group of galactics and humans,
I thought it was a mixed group of galactics and humans. That's
going all
good.
the way back to Atlantean age
Yep, yep, that's what I thought. So it's off-worlders and on-worlders. That's so
and
funny. You
inner worlds
answered
as well.
and inner-worlders as well. Of course, we haven't even talked about that.
They were the survivors, the ones who knew what was going on and preserved the Atlantean reality and went underground.
Right. Right. So that's what I was going to ask actually. So those of the interference are pretty much at this point all off-worlders, right? I mean, if they're on-world, they're just their minions, they're puppets, right?
Yeah, well,
So,
yeah. I mean, there's two. You could divide those of the interference in two categories. One is the ones who are blackmailed and forced to be conduits for their plan. The other ones who went there willingly. The second group, I would not want to be in their shoes
right.
at all. They're going to find out what severing your heart connection to the universe looks like, because that was the whole goal. That's what
Yep.
the one that fell, those are the interference are trying to get us to do. Sever
Yep.
our heart connection to
Separate
the
our heart
universe.
connection to the universe. Yep.
That 5D, the fifth, the reason the T is the white light contains all light, but it spreads out from fifth dimension out. So left the four physical dimensions of time and space, which are the masculine component, are the left-hand side of the T upright, and then the other four dimensions, which are the feminine, which are what galactic races evolve through. So say LT and the Arcturians are ninth density, so the Palladians. That's the 9 is completion. So that's the end of that top upright. So there were 8 either side. The fifth dimension's in the center. So
Mm.
that heart connection, what your heart connection is, your mind is really an extension of that. And that's why it's so important to get them in the right order. The inversion puts the ego in front of the heart, what we know to be true.
Yes. Yes. That's what we're reversing.
That's
That's
what
what
we're
we're
reversing.
reversing.
We all know
Um,
something's wrong.
right, right. Lindsay just says, I feel the inner world beings are going to be huge during this time.
Massive, and that's already started. The excitement in the galactic camp, they've
It's
been
so
waiting for this.
cool.
The amount of energy I felt when I came out of the coma from them was huge. The celebration, it was like the party, the New Year's Eve party everybody wants.
Oh, wow.
It was like the celebration. We've done it. It's done. Now it's just a matter of
It's
putting all the bits into the physical world that match that.
That's brilliant.
So this process will play out over a period of time. Again, form and timing, you got to be careful with this.
I know.
Look
I
at your
know.
motivation. Yeah, let it be what it is. It's happening. It's happening fast.
Either
Like I'm
way,
talking
but
fast, really
right,
fast. Yeah.
right.
However, it is what it is. It needs to happen the way it happens because it's a fluid thing. The consciousness of the human race needs to be met in this process in the right way. The energy needs to be dissipated in a controlled manner that doesn't overdo it. People choosing death through suicide is a bad idea. That just anchors the dark more. So it's got
Right.
to be handled properly. But all that work's been done now. It's just a matter of bringing people who are polarized against wanting to know anything back into the middle again.
Okay, okay, back to suicide because that was another thing we talked about today. There's no punishment and right. And so while it's still anchoring the dark, there is a level of that's what that soul's experience chose to be. I mean, there's a level of expansion for the people grieving, the people who see it, the people that their death stopped from doing that because they saw the reality of what they did. Right? I
Yeah,
mean, everything serves a purpose,
sure.
everything.
Sure. I mean, and I was told since we reached critical mass in 1997 and the 100th monkey effect, enough humans chose to accept the reality that there was something going on they didn't understand, but they needed to. In other words, they wanted the truth. There were enough people that did that. The whole human race flipped, like chose the truth. I was told at a certain point after that that everyone who transitions goes to the 5D, goes through the transition process the human race is about to go through consciously. So there is something to it. But again, the motivation, if you're choosing to end your life light because you think the dark is real, you've given
Right.
your creative energy to that. And that's what they wanted. So you got to be careful, you got to be careful.
Of course you do, but there's such a level of not knowing because you're hammered with so much. It's like
Yeah.
you have to have grace and compassion. What
Yes.
we have, like, this shit is no joke.
No, it isn't. It isn't. And that's why, God told me we could have populated your planet tens of thousands of times over with the number of souls who wanted to incarnate for this experience,
For this
which
experience, for this specific time.
which means if you are incarnate right now, you were chosen because of your capacity to go through this process and deal
Oof.
with it. Now, just
You
hold
hear
that
that, Anne? Anne, do you hear it? Lindsay, you got it?
and just hear that too when you're looking at the people who are being arseholes and reactionary and
No.
You know what I
I
mean?
know.
Like,
You
yeah,
know I do. You know I do. Don't you be
I'm
looking
talking
at
to the
me.
no, no, I'm talking because it's a big thing.
And it's a very big
we've
thing.
got a
We
lot of
get caught
pain.
up in dividing and being angry and
Yeah,
blaming. We get caught up in
yeah.
all of it. Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the
No.
paradigm that needs to be met, because we're all carrying a lot of pain. I mean, the suffering and pain that we've all been through in our personal life now, in our own past lives, the human race
Yes,
as a whole that we're connected to.
yes.
There's a lot of imperative to find someone to be responsible for it and to let them pay the price.
Right. Right. You said that today about the witch burnings. Like that, like all of these massive events and wars and murders and killings haven't been seen and alchemized and processed through.
Yes,
And that's what's
that's
happening. The
right.
energy hasn't been released. But I
Mm.
told you that very exchange that like I had 3 days of darkness when you were in your 3 day coma. Like we simultaneously were going something very big together separately.
Big time.
And the conversation I had with that family member, like when she shared her perspective, all I could do was love her more. I was so sad for that being her, not sad in like a poor you way, but like, oh my goodness, that's your
Mm.
perspective.
That empathy,
How misguided or how I don't know. It
Mm.
was just the compassion and the love came out of it. Whereas a year ago, it would have been rage, anger,
Yes.
defensive, like,
Mm.
like it wasn't that. It was so
Yeah,
much
interesting, isn't
compassion.
it?
It was
It's
very
interesting.
interesting.
And I think I'm hoping a lot of people on the call are feeling this, that over the last, say, 5 years, they're hearing things now on a level they didn't quite have access to before. Well, that's because your subconscious has now got a truth-shaped gap that it can enter in. So those same experiences are delivering the awareness of the truth rather than reinforcing the fear and pain.
Yep,
And you can see it that way. So um, that's going to start increasing more and more.
yep.
And particularly because the tangible reality that the narrative around everything is being controlled
That's
through the
why I
mainstream.
said I know it's an inside job, but boy, will all that stuff out there help the inside job.
Everything that they've put in place is now serving the transition. The
Wow.
very same thing that would have served their plan is now. That's what the Arcturians meant by everything that's been used against you. We turn back to the user. Their fight for survival is actually showing them up for who they are. In
Yep.
the end times, the charlatans reveal themselves
I was hoping you'd
by,
say that
by trying
quote.
to hold
Yep.
on.
Right.
They know they're done. They're cornered by centralization of power. This is the big problem. You're in a circle, trapped. And if you lose control of the narrative, now all eyes are looking inward and you can't
Yeah.
do anything about it.
Nowhere to go.
Everything they do to try to get us to look the other way is just
Right.
making it more and more obvious to more and more people.
Right.
And a big one is the story reactionaryism that people have and how they define this stuff. That's got to be brought out and out and out. And to do that, there needs to be trigger events. Which gets back to the white hat control over the media. It's being
Exactly.
used to pull out to
Yeah.
make it real.
The
It's not a theory. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's right. I mean, heading towards World War III. Is that really what's
I know.
happening,
Is
or
that
is it?
really what's happening? Right. Showing through what looks like mainstream media is illuminating the deception, illuminating the
Mm.
reactionaryism, illuminating the plan.
Yeah,
And and people
and the
aren't
source of it.
and the source of it, right? So it has to be seen. So they're getting clumsy and tripping over their own shoelaces, and it's really
Mm.
fantastic.
It's interesting because our creative energy is what the systems run off, and the totality of belief of the human race was so great that there were no gaps. It was like the whole thing functioned like
Oh my
seamlessly, and that's been breaking down gradually over the last 25 years until now. The image the Arcturian showed me was of like the Wizard of Oz in a big room. This little guy punching a green button playing whack-a-mole,
God.
and
Right.
like being confused because they're hitting the button the same way they always have, but it's not working the same
It's
way
not
it used
working
to.
anymore.
Yeah. That's playing out in a major way. And now we've just crossed a big threshold with that. So that now this sort of um, ex bringing out into the open that there is a they do have an agenda, and all
Yeah.
the systems of our civilization have been taken over by them. That is being brought out into the open for everyone to see in a way they cannot deny.
I know. I
The
know. I
harder they
really
try
can't
to,
wait. Even
yeah,
even in the spiritual communities, nobody wants to go there with the they and the agenda. Like they don't like it's all a mirror of within you. Well, yeah, okay, but it's so much, I don't know, it's so much more sci-fi than that. I'm really sorry to burst your bubble, you zenned out love and light, but there's more to it.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. There's truth to what they say in that sense, because
Absolutely.
the way you pull your energy out is to not be afraid of the living moment because now that all serves you, but you've also got to let it be what it is and look
Yeah.
at the motivation for why people would want to say that they want to push away that idea. If it's coming from an idea to sort of protect themselves against uh, the fear that brings,
Yeah.
then they've got to be honest about it. And again, that's why this process is being played out the way it is. Everybody has to be brought to the point where they have to drop everything they think they know about it all in their own way.
Yep.
And again,
Yep.
the exposure of the controlled narrative around COVID is what really pops it, undoes it in the end. Because that no one can count on anything they think in their belief system, except people like on this call who've been willing to question things.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if they lied about that, what else have they lied about? Has to be, everywhere they look in their own ideas, it's like they won't be able to write off that there's a question mark over everything they think they know. They won't be able to just write it off like they've been doing
Mm-hmm.
because it's been proven that a lie on that scale can be pulled off, that there is a motivation behind it. What is it? There are question marks then where there were full stops and exclamation marks when no one wanted to go there. And
My
again, that's
good.
the exciting thing about the point we're at now. That's all coming out this year onwards. Open contact will probably it'll go through a secret phase
Mm-hmm.
first, where
Mm-hmm.
what I was shown by the Arcturians is a pincer move. They called it a pincer move, where the human race coming from street level, meeting this white hat that's been there all the time, connecting the dots, connecting
Yep.
together.
Yep.
That point, there are a large group of soulmates, soul groups who are part of that first wave,
Yep.
what they Arcturians call system busters, who have been living a life, moved around quite a lot often, where they're holding that integrity everywhere they go. The system, they leave an energy behind that the system can't operate. Say you're a teacher and you're at a
Mm-hmm.
school, the education system, there's now a light. Darkness is an absence of light. There's now an energy operating within that system that you've left behind that won't let it stay in its current form. That over time it'll attract more and more people to it that question reality. That there's a lot of people around the world who have been living lives over the last 25 years, particularly, that have been doing that. And that's part of
Yeah.
the reason why it's been
Yeah.
accelerated.
I mean, I have my friend Melanie working in Harvard and our friend Kate at the UB Law School. Like they're bringing their light into the system just being there.
Big time. And you can see it playing out in um, the number of people in, say, particularly the medical system who are waking up, that their desire to help people has been used in a very different way. Military as well.
Yeah.
That's not what they signed up for. And
No.
and the feeling in them is too great. It's like, hang on a minute, I'm being used like Vader. I'm being used,
Right.
and I'm that's not what I'm about. That's becoming more and more tangible to more because they're cognitively they're a lot closer. You could say to the information that
Mm-hmm.
connects them to the plan than.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of people in academia who The whole
They're
career path
fighting
based on
harder.
being right. They're fighting really
They're
hard. Yeah.
fighting even harder,
Mm.
especially in medical and academia.
That's right. Yeah.
They're
Well, you'll
fighting to
start to
the
see
end.
break open more and more and more political groups,
Yeah,
um, political, economic, people within all of these systems starting to
yeah,
turn around and face the fact that the system has been designed to go the opposite direction to civilization, and without their cooperation, it can't work. That's not what they signed up for.
yeah.
They've started to wake up, and they've got the thing, those are the interference. The big problem they have is these people have the awareness of how this system works.
You're right.
Like
Uh-oh.
that's the problem. Yeah, I mean, that's it. So
Yeah,
that's that one of the big goals the White Hats have had is to provide a safe house for whistleblowers,
yep.
that the dark element can't act on this blackmail. If you don't do what we tell you, we'll wipe out your family, or
Right.
the threat they carry out. That the more tangible that gets, that there is somewhere they can go where they can offload all of this information, and that they'll be helped and protected, and that the threat's dissolving. They're starting to connect with that more and more. That's only going to accelerate.
Yep. Mike says it's the day the masks disappeared.
Yeah, good way to put it.
Yep.
Yes, yeah, that's it. You know, a lot of us, you have to be someone out there that you've got to be to avoid all the problems that you get if you're not the way everyone thinks you should
Thinks
be.
you should be. But yeah, that mask and the masks from COVID, right?
Yeah, and
The
COVID,
day the mask disappeared. No mistakes. No
which is what it
mistakes.
represents. Yeah,
Yep.
that loss of autonomy, slavery. And again, that's the whole point of the system, is to get us to accept through free will a system of slavery,
Yeah, I know. That book is so good.
which is the
I love The Only
corporations.
Planet of Choice. I love that book.
Oh, it's the true. I mean, if you want to connect directly with the real God
Yeah.
and the
That
reality, what
book.
Christians think the Bible is, then look no further.
Yeah. Well, the Christians are the other ones that are going to go down swinging.
I'm afraid so. You told me the time for religion is over. How's this? I mean, this makes so much sense. The time for religion is over. We do not need your worship. In ritual, love becomes redundant.
Yeah.
And that's think of the think of the pain and suffering that they've caused people by thinking that everything's
Gosh.
got to be the way they think it is. And if they
Gosh.
don't agree, then they're going to dot dot dot.
Oh, yeah. I
You know,
disagree with numerous Christians I absolutely love because they believe very much in hell.
it's it. It's where
And
they're at, and
yeah,
but the idea that they have the right to superimpose their belief system on other people and cause them a lot of harm if they don't go toe the line.
yep,
The
yep,
Crusades, the Catholic Church, that really what they did post the Nazarene was all about that.
yep.
The witch burnings, which is an
Oh,
attempt to wipe out the female line of the twin flame soul group.
I know.
And the dynamic of the way that worked, by the way, I just wanted to point out, all you had to do back then was point at a woman and say witch, and they were assumed guilty until proven innocent by being weighed against a feather. So if you wanted to take someone out, that's all you had to do. But the fact is it worked. The people went along with it. The
I
human race has
know.
got to own that.
They've got to own that, but that's a hard thing to own. That's what all of us have been owning ourselves. And like you speak about all the death and abuse and trauma religion has caused.
Mhm.
What about the lie of cancer? Oh my God, can you
Totally.
imagine the rage and the fury that's going to come out around cancer?
Cancer,
It's such a
disease,
load of bollocks.
the impact of vaccinations. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And again, this
Oof.
is what a lot of healthcare professionals, they were programmed and they were sold a lie, and that's a hard thing to admit, but some of them have got too much, it's too obvious. It's getting too obvious. You'd have to be, particularly vaccine damage, you'd have to be willfully ignorant to now.
Now,
And again, it's going to go out. A lot of the studies and the information, the evidence isn't the problem, it's been suppressed. but
right, right.
the let's say the mechanism or the structure that's been used to suppress that reality is being dissolved and pushed aside. So now
Amen.
that truth can start to come out more and more.
Amen. Because like I don't get into vaccine fights with anyone anymore, but like they wanna fight with you about polio. The last iron lung blah, person died. I'm not discounting people died. I'm not discounting people had mass psychosis and symptoms, but I am absolutely discounting the creation of these fake pandemics, the narrative around them, the solution to them. I'm arguing all of it.
Yeah.
Spanish flu, load of shit. Blame it on rats, fleas on rats. Oh, okay. Like it's just when you see God's creation as the perfection it is, like you can't deny there's a those of the interference.
Yeah, and that unwillingness for them to be willing to at least, okay, so they can't understand, they don't believe that's the case, but the thing is they haven't really looked at all of the information. So how do
No,
they know?
they won't.
Be willing to own that. Yeah, just say,
Yeah.
okay, um, let's say there's a question, we'll look at it. Now, whether I do or not, I can't deny that I have all that I can't deny that I can come to a conclusion like that. I can't deny the reality that I have the awareness to come to that conclusion. So I'll
Hmm.
stay open. I may not have the energy or the time right now to look into it for whatever reason, but you're willing to admit you've got a question, not a conclusion. You don't
Yes.
have the capacity to make that conclusion. Because what's the strategy they use? Take control of the narrative, generate problem, reaction, solution.
Yeah.
Solution being centralization of power. Without that reaction in the middle, it can't work.
Yep.
And that's what
Yep.
they do. As soon as
I
they hear, there's something to look at here with vaccines. No, there isn't.
right.
That
Right.
reaction right there.
Right
They don't
there.
know that.
It
What makes
shuts
them,
them
why is it so
down.
hard to look at? Yeah.
No, there isn't. No, it
No, there
doesn't.
isn't.
You're very good at that. You're very good at that.
That's it,
I basically I think, and everyone here, I don't want to speak for anybody, but basically I don't have any conclusions.
Yeah.
I used to have plenty of conclusions. I no longer have conclusions. They don't exist in my new reality.
You can hold, maybe, it's like this feels true, but you're willing to be open to
Yeah.
the big picture reality reforming itself in a way that it's hard to see right now. Now, again,
Right.
that's going to take you places emotionally because we need that.
Yes.
That paradigm's built on
Knowing.
controlling and managing fear, the unknown.
Yeah. Right.
So you can't go there without being open to what if it's true. The only way to know fear isn't real is to let it come and get you. The only way you can know the only way you can know you can fly is to jump off the cliff. But what if you're
Right.
wrong? What if that's the thing. You can't actually get rid of that feeling first and then act feeling safe in the knowledge. The
Right.
experience goes together. The willingness to be, okay, let's just let reality be what it is, and the willingness to let it show itself to you is going to dissolve a lot of that old emotional energy, and that's going to take you places. But that's the whole
Boy,
point.
does it ever. Boy, does
Yeah,
it
and the
ever.
transition process the human race is going through is that in a nutshell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm just sitting here chuckling that a few people in the chats and people I know would probably say, "Oh, Katie, you do have conclusions. Who are you kidding?" My stance on cancer, my stance on vaccines, my stance on, this, that, the other thing. But the beautiful thing about my passion around certain things that I do believe to be so is they aren't really conclusions. I'm really open to being wrong. I don't really care. I just want the truth. I don't
Yeah,
care if I'm wrong about what I now believe.
that's right. Yeah, I mean that's the right way to be. You come to personally, I think anyway. It's okay to sort of project into the situation and kind of put it together in a certain way in a framework because that's
Sure.
how you relate to it. But
Yep.
you're also open to it being making adjustments on the fly as you move through.
Yes. Yes, you and I had never discussed dinosaurs before, and you blew my head wide open like 3, 4 weeks ago on the call. I'm like, ah, shit, I gotta revisit dinosaurs now. I actually have to consider maybe they were real. Damn it.
That's yeah. Again, there's a lot of controversy around all sorts of things in the world. But I mean, that's the thing. God did smite the dragon. What does that mean? Well, those are the interference. There are a couple of reptilian races,
Mhm.
particularly the Draco reptilians, and they had a genetic breeding program going on. So what they were trying to do, or what they were in the process of doing, and it was about to work, was create self-aware life through one of the, or more than one of the species that were, let's say, a T-Rex, but that was self-aware and capable of being used as a super soldier,
Right.
so that they could be like AI extensions of AI.
Yep.
That was their plan. They were trying to create this whole new race. So that was wiped out right at the end, and that's one of the reasons why they were so angry. And why this trap worked, because they wanted to.
Right.
It
They
was
wanted
like
to get
revenge.
back. It was
Yeah.
revenge.
So what they've
That's
been trying to do to us is revenge. But what they don't understand is it was a trap.
okay. Dragons
So,
are real though, right? How about unicorns? Okay. Bigfoot, I know is totally real. Like, seriously, inquiring minds want to know, Gareth. I believe
yeah,
in
look,
just
I
about
don't know.
anything. I believe in just about anything
Being
except
open,
vaccines. Yeah.
that asteroid 65 million years ago was the tipping point of a process that had already been playing out for quite a while.
Yeah.
So in and of itself, it wouldn't have been enough to wipe them out, but it was done precisely at the right time. The mass of the asteroid, which was about the same as the Mount Everest, the trajectory the angle that it hit at, where it hit,
Yeah.
the planet was going through an environmental shift. Like
Mhm.
the planet's very cyclical, so
Sure.
there are mass extinction events that go on because environmental changes happen, and that's all just part of the form and timing of everything shifting. Well, that process was already playing out. It wouldn't have wiped them out though, but this on top of all of that did, and that was done deliberately. The asteroid was knocked off trajectory by the Galactic Federation at the time, precisely at the right angle to hit at the right time to do that,
Yep.
because it was to wipe out this breeding program.
Yep. 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 Lindsay just said, I think dinosaurs were dragons. And I'm with her. I do too, Gareth.
Oh yeah, look. Well, when the Galactic show up, we'll find out.
I know. Look at me yelling at you like you think it's one way or another. I'm just kidding. But no, I do. I think
I
they're
don't pretend
dragons.
to know the full reality of them, but
No, I
whatever
know.
that is, that much I know that they were the oxygen level back then, I believe, was a lot higher, so the body plan could be bigger. So there were some things in the environment that were kind of unique that allowed the massive size, and that was changed post that asteroid, so they couldn't come back that way. So they were megafauna, but not like that. You can get a brontosaurus-sized thing.
So, okay, I want to talk about Hollyweird someday, but I know that's not your thing. You're a bit more bigger picture. But Hollyweird is so much a part of selling us the narrative that I want to
Oh,
talk
big
about
time.
it. And the whole
Yeah.
inversion of the sexes. And Michelle Obama being a dude. Like these things don't matter, but I'm endlessly curious about them.
Well, that's the
So,
nature of this end times death cult, a satanic end times death cult, you could call it. Again, you've just be open to framing that terminology in a way that separates it from what Catholicism is all about, making sure we don't access this properly. Religion, yeah. So
yes,
we can
yes.
put that to one side and say, okay, this terminology is really talking about something. There's a truth to it, um, but that dynamic of, say, Hollywood, blackmail.
Inversion, sex
They're
inversion.
pretty sick and twisted. In
Yep.
all these areas, the politicians.
Yeah.
There's a dynamic to the cult. This cult, Zionism at the extreme end of
Mm.
Zionism. They're there at
Careful,
within.
you'll be labeled anti-Jew.
Yeah, right. Well,
Whatever.
their time is over.
I
Their
know.
time is done.
I know.
And they're fighting for survival right now.
Yeah.
And they control the media. Mossad runs the media.
I know. I
It's
know.
the
Or
headquarters of
ran,
this.
maybe fast tense, maybe
Well,
past tense.
Iran part of it too. But because there are this cult of Baal, there are a few names. There are different expressions of this cult that have been around because it's ancient, and it's it goes way back through time in the universe as well. But it's the same thing. It's an inversion of life, so it's the opposite of love and
Yeah.
everything. The cult of the Sith in Star Wars is what is an example of it. That's an expression of it.
Yes, I know. My son threw the Sith absolutism at me during an argument a couple of years ago. Don't deal in absolutes, Mom. The Sith deal in absolutes. I'm like, all right, buddy.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be, sorry, mate, but you don't really know what you're talking about.
Nope. Sweetheart. Love you. Go play in the corner with the
Yeah.
crayons.
They're the
Um,
inversion of the absolute reality of the divine order, that everything is one energy, the illusion of separation, light,
yeah.
and the illusion of separation of what we call dark. God told me darkness serves a purpose. So that's created by time. So that's really just the ability for us to experience life one moment at a time. We have to be separate from the all that is, in a sense.
Yeah.
Um, that's really just about that which knows all. In order to have, you know, the that let's say, how do I put it? It's an infinite field of potential called 0 point. Someone asked Tom, "Where are you?" He said, "The zone of cold, which is absolute zero or 0 point." So everything in the universe exists first in potential. But in order to realize that potential, there needs to be someone who doesn't know about it first.
Yeah.
We know about it in our hearts, but our mind's about describing it. So that which knows all does not know all, knows all. That which knows all wishes to experience itself as that, as the all it is. And that's the whole role of self-aware life. He said, "We created you and you created us, and for that we love you. Dot, dot, dot. Do we love life? Unconditionally." Now
Yeah.
that's what we're getting back to, that there's
Yeah.
something playing out. And loving life unconditionally that's the absolute reality, that life is love. Life is one universally to everywhere, and all form comes from it. So you don't need to get caught up in everything being a certain way. It's all coming from
Right.
the same place anyway. And us connecting to that consciously is
Powerful.
reconnecting to that consciously. Yeah. So we can let go of needing to control everything, just connect to this living moment right now and let it show us and move through this process.
Yep. Yep. Um, that's a really good place to end.
Yeah, it's getting late.
I know. I'm just like sitting here yawning, which we all know for me is not tired, it's truth. But yeah. All right.
However, it's a lot. Yeah.
However, however, however,
So everyone, we just crossed a major threshold. The rest is just all the form coming to
semantics.
us, yeah, and taking the EU is going to collapse, communism's going to collapse, Israel's going to collapse. You name it, they're collapsing, and every part of their system is going to fall apart and is going to be brought out into the open in the process. The Galactic Federation, probably the public side of it, I think somewhere around the middle of 27, roughly, but everything that's playing out will take those questions off the table for everyone. Yes, there is ET life. Of course, self-aware life is present throughout the universe. That takes that off the table. So, what's life like for them? Now we've got something to reference our own life, like our civilization. Um, so there's a lot of that reality coming out in a way that can't be pushed aside. then we've really got to move quickly. And it's because of all of us. There's enough of us who can hear it on the level that it's meant to be released at. Right. So the
Yeah, I
process we're planning.
remember over 3 years ago, you said to me, if humanity knew what was truly happening right now, they'd be dancing in the streets. If they truly understood what was happening, they'd be dancing in the streets. I've never forgotten that.
Yeah,
Never forgotten you telling me that.
we are reversing the inversion with you. We are
Mm.
bringing you back across the valley you should not have crossed. So head and heart have all been put around the right way, and we're living through all of the stuff that happened that caused the problem in the first place. It can never happen again. And we're the most physically dense race in the universe, so that awareness is now present within the entire galaxy. We're genetically connected, so our collective consciousness with all the races in this galaxy is one. And God said to me, no other race, the manner of transition of humanity has never happened before in the history of the universe. That's why it's called the grand experiment. So we've just reached the point where it's going to become physically manifest.
All right. Oh my
And the
God, it's
renaissance
awesome.
that's coming on the other side is an explosion of color and light like you've never seen before. It makes the last one look like a tea party. We just
All
got to
right.
go through.
Yep, yep, yep. On that note, my cat is telling me I need to feed her. All right.
All
I
right,
love
everyone. Well,
everybody.
I hope that has helped.
Do you feel like you were able to speak about the coma and the messages and everything? You
I
got
think
some
so.
good airtime?
I think
I
so.
didn't
Yeah,
take
yeah.
over too much?
No, no, no. I think so. Look, there's probably a lot more to it, but everything comes in timing. So,
Yeah.
but we'll keep doing shows as these
Yes.
events start to play out. The tangibility of this process starts to play out, and then we'll keep talking about it, and
Yeah.
I'll keep getting information. So,
Oh, and if you and Todd plan a live, please let me know so I can let all of them know. All of
sure.
them know. Okay?
Okay, sure. Yes, we'll do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All
Yeah.
right. Love everybody. Roseanne and Eliza and Mike and Connie and Chase and Linz and and Ann Brown. My Ann Brown. I didn't even see her there. Okay. All right. And
Thanks,
Victoria.
everyone.
Okay. Yeah. Love
Thanks
you.
again for all your love too. I really, really appreciate it. It really helped.
We
And
prayed
it's
you
coming,
right out of that coma.
it's coming back in a big way.
It's coming back in a big way. All the
Yep.
love you put out comes back to you.
The love of the all it is. It's all one. Yep. That's reality. That's reality. This other crap.
I know. I love you too, Anne. It's for the birds. It's for the birds, this reality. Oh, wait, the birds aren't real. Hold on. All right. Love you.
Love you guys.
Bye.